Hi, Mystery Recap here. Today I'm going to give an explanation for a drama display called The Society. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The display opens with inside the fictional metropolis of West Ham, which has as an alternative odd problem. A foul stench runs at some stage in the city, disturbing its citizens and developing fitness problems. City officers unexpectedly deal with this through hiring a person named Pfeiffer who by some means receives rid of the smell. However, just a few days later, the metropolis is another time beginning to reek. Elsewhere, a number of the neighborhood excessive faculty students are visible collaborating in a drama. But outside the faculty's auditorium, Harry, one of the richest and maximum famous men in Metropolis, is busy making out together along with his girlfriend, Kelly. They are engrossed in every different till she complains of a really horrific stench. This is whilst former faculty council president, Cassandra, reveals the two lovers. She too notices the foul odor, however calls Harry in her as he's one of the lead actors. After the play, Cassandra and her more youthful sister, Allie, have a communication approximately the performances, but the latter is greater inquisitive about checking out her crush, Will, who became additionally with inside the play. Shortly afterwards, all of the college students pack up and start heading closer to their homes. Cassandra is taking walks beyond the auditorium whilst she overhears Harry inviting all of his male buddies to a celebration at his house. She paradoxically asks approximately the celebration, however he fires back. Harry factors out that she wouldn't attend even supposing he for my part invited her. It is apparent that there's a sense of competition and perhaps even animosity among the two. While taking walks home, Allie admits that she'll leave out Cassandra whilst she leaves for Yale the following summer. We additionally see that almost all college students stay in West Ham besides for Will. He lives together along with his alcoholic father in a trailer, simply out of doors the town's borders. The following day, Harry takes Kelly to the town council workplace in which his mom works because the mayor. They note that she and some different officers are engaged in a tense assembly with Pfeiffer. The assembly soon ends and as Pfeiffer leaves the workplace, he stares on the young adults creepily. Harry's mom then joins the two, however apologizes that she cannot communicate as there is a Metropolis assembly in 20 minutes. The scene then shifts to the Metropolis assembly, in which the foul stench appears to be the hot subject matter of debate. A senior professional admits that they've requested the federal authorities for help. He reassures everybody that protection trying out will start quickly, however reiterates that the odor does now no longer pose any fitness risks. All the youngsters within inside the metropolis, however, can be going to the nearby national park. The children will take a ride up the Great Smoky Mountains whilst the town finds out its problem. The very subsequent day, all of the children are excited to listen approximately this arrangement. There are numerous faculty buses ready to take them to this sudden vacation. While strolling to the buses, excessive faculty soccer player, Luke, notices a few graffiti at the side of the nearby church. It reads, "Mean tika la farson," and his friend, Grizz, notices that it's Miles a Bible verse. It is an ominous quote that interprets to, "You've been weighed with inside the balance and discovered wanting." The jocks quickly dismiss it, however Grizz remains a bit longer, thinking of what the quote is attempting to tell. After announcing goodbyes to their families, all the teens board the bus. A manipulative and assured student, Campbell, asks to take a seat down subsequent to the loner, Al, who appears uneasy and annoyed. The journey then starts involved amid heavy rainfall and the college students go to sleep at the way. But later that night, the drivers announce that there has been a landslide and that they need to go back to West Ham. In the following scene, all of the buses competently make it return to the metropolis and the drowsy college students disembark. But they may be bowled over to appear that nobody is there to select out them up. The teens quickly head to their respective homes, best to find that nobody is there either. This makes them recognize that something is incorrect as all of their mother and father in addition to the whole society is missing. As confusion takes maintain of the metropolis, the scholars acquire in the front of the nearby church. Cassandra, being the maximum senior, indicates that all of them simply cross domestic and sleep. But the majority of the scholars live returned and throw a celebration with inside the church. They begin to dance. Booze starts evolved to float and nobody appears to care approximately anything. Moments later, Kelly witnesses her boyfriend, Harry, being flirty with some other girl. She storms out in anger whilst he attempts to explain that it became only a misunderstanding. In the church's backyard, Campbell tries to flirt with Elle, however she flat out rejects him. Similarly, inebriated Allie methods her crush, and admits her emotions for him. She also leans in for a kiss, however he would not seem to be interested by her at all. In reality, he rudely rejects her and walks far from there. Meanwhile, Grizz leaves the celebration to urinate, however notices something in reality off. The graffiti at the church's wall is now long past without any trace, leaving him extraordinarily confused. In the center of the night, the faculty nerd Gordy is woken up by way of means of a name from his best friend. The latter signals him to the reality that they may be absolutely reduced off from the relaxation of the world. They can name and textual content human beings enter the metropolis, however there's no net or telecell smartphone sign to the outside. What issues her the maximum is that now no longer even 911 may be contacted on the moment. The subsequent morning, Cassandra tells her pals that she plans to get a vehicle and force to the nearest metropolis to get help. Harry disagrees with this, asking why she have to be the only to cross. He then organizes his very own group, composed of his pals, Luke and Chris, to go away with him for the close-by metropolis. Moments later, this institution reaches the town limits. Simplest for them to note that the avenue all of a sudden leads to a dense forest. They then race the opposite manner to any other avenue out of town, but the men are stunned to look that educate tracks headed out of West Ham are blocked through forest. Sometime later, Cassandra and some others additionally arrive on the tracks. It is now clear to all people that there may be no manner out of the town. Cassandra indicates that they stick collectively in proportion anything sources are present. However, Harry once more disagrees, and makes a decision to head lower back to his personal house. He asks Kelly to return back with him, however she angrily refuses to even speak to him. That afternoon, Cassandra, who has a heart murmur, is desperately seeking to get to the prescription cupboard inside the neighborhood pharmacy. The complete segment is locked away at the back of a metal gate which refuses to even budge. Gordy, who's additionally on the pharmacy, attempts to consolation her and asks if the whole thing is okay, but the scenario gets worse while he notices that Cassandra's lips are starting to show blue. The duo then rushes to her domestic and searches for her remedy. She has each different tablet well saved in boxes besides the only that she desires proper now. Gordy realizes he isn't always of a good deal assist on the moment, however does promise to attend to Cassandra. Thankfully, Allie quickly arrives domestic and sees her sister in a sensitive state. It turns out that Allie had stored her sister's heart remedy one at a time in order that it would be smooth to seize in case of emergency. She fingers a plastic bottle of those drugs to Cassandra. Allie additionally encourages her sister to take fee of the town and manual all people. Elsewhere, a scouting celebration of Luke, Grizz, Emily, and others are seeking to make their manner through the woods. They are right here to look if they could hike out of West Ham and get assist from close-by towns. They stroll for numerous miles, however the jungle maintains getting greater dense. Thus, they take a destroy and devour anything meals they had packed from their homes. Someone asks for the peanut butter, and even as Emily is getting it, she is bitten through a snake. Luke and the others speedily soar into motion and try and save her. However, Grizz notices that Emily seems to be laid low with an allergic reaction in preference to the venom from the bite. Things begin to get dire as she quickly is going right into a shock even as Luke desperately attempts to offer her CPR. Meanwhile, the opposite college students are gathered on the neighborhood church and no person has any idea what's happening. Cassandra, encouraged through her sisters in advanced words, attempts to console all people. She says that they need to ration meals in proportion sources until he says that they ought to simply hold anything they have got and personally decide what to do. A fierce argument then breaks out as the two begin yelling insults at every other. Suddenly, their to and fro is interrupted via way of means of Campbell, who fires a shot into the air. He then factors the gun at Cassandra and says that he has the same opinion with Harry. Campbell broadcasts that everybody who has the same opinion with Harry ought to depart the church. Just as nearly one half of the scholars are approximately to depart, The scouting birthday celebration arrives on the church. The sight of Luke carrying a doll Emily leaves absolutely each person stunned. All the quarreling and variations are accordingly set apart due to this horrible incident. Luke and a number of his pals bury Emily's frame inside the nearby graveyard. The kids then attempt to return to their regular lives as best as possible. However, it's more difficult on a few than others. One female especially appears to be the most suffering from this complete situation. She decides to simply take a seat down on a bench close to the town's main bus prevent and wait till her parents return. Cassandra and Thalie attempt to speak her into going returned interior, however she refuses to budge. On the opposite hand, there's this bizarre organization of college students that starts to meditate and pray inside the town's park. They encircle a group of rocks and beg that God suggests them the way. Right on cue, a complete sun eclipse covers the complete town in darkness. The praying organization thinks this is a signal from their God, while Gordy has a special view. He attempts to calm down anybody, pronouncing it's really a sun eclipse. That is a not unusual clinical phenomenon. That nighttime at her house, Cassandra shows that they have to begin taking word of the way a great deal meals they have got left in the town. She additionally is aware of that now no longer anybody, especially Harry and his organization, will take her initiative kindly. So, Cassandra gives these paintings to her sister and warns Allie now no longer to allow everyone recognize that she is in the back of the plan. Following this, Allie and will head to the nearby mart to make an index of everything they have got. There are really too many aisles in order that they determine to break up to distribute the paintings. Will sits down in the front of the mart, developing an index of the can of beans that they have got. Kelly additionally arrives moments later and gives to assist him. On the opposite hand, Allie is taking notes of different meals inside the mart's garage room. She fast finishes her paintings and heads to the front. Most effective to look Will and Kelly laughing together. This makes her experience rejected and she makes a decision to head again domestic without informing Will. On her manor again, she bumps into Harry, who attempts to begin a communication with her. Harry is rich, correct, searching and surely a person who loves to flirt round in spite of having a girlfriend. He invitations Allie to his house later that night time, wherein he's setting up a recreation of fugitives. Allie respectfully refuses to provide, however earlier than leaving, she famous that Kelly is all by myself with Will inside the mart. Meanwhile, Al, who barely has any buddies inside the town, receives dressed up and heads out. She makes her manor over to a close-by house to hang around with a number of her classmates, however is denied access and grew to become away. Elsewhere, inside the West Ham Council building, a deaf pupil Sam and his correct pal Becca undergo antique photos of the town. They are searching out clues which might assist them make experience of what's happening. But suddenly, Becca runs out of the constructing and throws up in a close-by bush. Sam has no concept what were given into her, however it's far apparent that she is pregnant. In the meantime, Gordy has been reading plenty of scientific books.